What's up YouTube? Alex Killian here. Today I want to talk about an area of filmmaking that rarely gets enough credit. Art direction. Art direction and production design are really the unsung heroes of any good film. Now, in larger scale productions, the art director has a bunch of people working under them, and the art director works under the production designer. But for smaller scale indie sort of things, like something you or me might be making, usually production designer and art director are synonymous, and it's just one person doing all of those jobs. More than any other aspect of filmmaking, art direction is responsible for creating the world of your film. And good art direction gives everything on the screen meaning, helping the audience get to know the people, places, and style of the film more and more with every frame. I really started to realize the massive impact that art direction has on films when looking through some of my favorite frames from movies. Now, there's a number of things that make these frames beautiful to look at. The lighting, the composition and cinematography, the story that informs those images. But what makes them really captivating and just fun to look at is the art direction. The locations, the color, the setting, every little detail in the background. Art direction helps you to be economical with your screen time, and it comes particularly in handy when you're trying to introduce a character and their world in a short amount of time. Instead of writing a bunch of clunky expositional dialogue to introduce your characters to the audience, you can just show the character in their space, actually bring the audience into their world. Think about it, if you look around your bedroom, office, whatever room you spend most of your time, there's tons of little details and things that all tell little stories about you and how you live your life. And it's no different for the characters in your film. Art directors create characters and stories, but instead of doing it with words like a writer, or composition like a cinematographer, they use objects, settings, colors, and little details. I think the reason art direction is underappreciated is that if it's done correctly, it's somewhat subconscious. Now, some people notice art direction in a film more than others, but whether or not your audience is explicitly aware of the work you did on art direction in your film, they're getting a lot of information about your characters and world subconsciously, whether they realize it or not. We notice more than we realize we notice, and that information helps us to determine what we're looking at and how we should feel about it. And believe me, the more time you spend on your art direction, the more your audience will know your characters and the more immersed in your story they will be. So, speaking of art direction, it just so happens my good friend Garrett Ball is in town. Garrett is a scenic artist working in the New York area, and he just got off of charging his second feature film. Welcome, Garrett, to the series.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here, man.
Pleasure.
So, I thought it would be really cool to hear from Garrett about some stuff about what he does and some tips he has for art direction, being someone working in the industry. So tell us a little about what you do.
I, as the scenic artist, communicate with the production designer and the art director to set a look for each location and stage that we're going to. It will start off with draftings of measurements of each location, what colors we want to use on the walls, and if there are any special scenic elements like signs, rocks, props, or other large scenic pieces.
Very cool. So, I figured Garrett would have some good insight on art direction, specifically where to start with art direction. If you've never done it, if you know you need to give your film a look, but not really sure what that entails. So what you got?
I guess I have a few tips for starting filmmakers who are beginning to think about art direction in their movies for the first time. Art direction provides a context for your story. It lets your viewer place the story in a certain place and time. It also provides an emotional tone for the work and a visual aesthetic. Art direction can range from huge ideas like creating a whole new alien world for your story, but art direction is just as important in more realistic or depictionalistic pieces that you might not expect. Even contemporary films with fairly straightforward locations, there's a lot of art direction going along under the surface that provides a underpinning of emotional and realistic context, almost like a backing score or a soundtrack to your film.
So, when deciding what your visual aesthetic is going to be for a film, what are some places you can start with that?
The first place to start for probably everyone is script analysis. Getting to know the script, finding its emotional features and deeper motifs. The second thing you want to think about is where you want to set this and when. You want to be able to give your viewer a frame of reference, to be able to place your story in a context that they can relate to other things. I think people don't exactly appreciate how ethereal art direction is and how intangible it can be. It's a lot of trying to come up with an emotional vocabulary and a abstract idea of what you'd like the piece to be, and then you start to narrow in from there, where you can start finding colors and picking a color palette for your piece that will guide you in making decisions as you go, or you can find reference images that help you capture an emotional aesthetic that you're looking for. One of the joys of art direction is being able to work a little bit more subconsciously with your viewer. Sometimes small things like putting various pieces of red in the background will help the audience feel more anxious or nervous or give them a sense of danger, and they don't even know why, but just because you're guiding them with
cues.
Sure, with subtle visual cues.
Subconscious cues. That's pretty crazy.
Party on, Wayne.
Party on, Garth.
It's Wayne's World! Wayne's World! Party time! Excellent!
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Garrett. Loved having you here.
My pleasure.
If you want to check out Garrett's art or his work on Broadway and film, you should check out his website, garrettscottball.com. Link will be in the description below to check that out.
Always good seeing you.
Good to see you, man. That's all for this one, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, I would very much appreciate you throwing me that like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.